Welcome to another episode of GeekOutdoors.com. So Outside the Wire is a film starring Anthony Mackie, and it's like a sci-fi action film that I was really looking forward to whenever I saw the trailers. But now that I've seen it, well, let's see whether or not it lives up to the hype that the trailer was putting out. And so the whole story centers around this soldier named Harp, and he basically flies drones for the military, and something happens early on in the movie that causes him to end up somewhere else, and that somewhere else is being under the command of Captain Leo, played by Anthony Mackie. And Anthony Mackie, playing this character, he is somebody who's not quite normal and not quite human, and that's really where the story starts off. And within this entire story, we have a crisis, where there's really bad people, there's wars going on in Eastern Europe, and there is a main villain who's trying to, destroy the world. And so that's kind of where we have our overall general story. And then there's some other things that goes on in between that is basically the kind of center point of this story. And that's really in general what the story is about. So getting into the things that I did like about this film is Anthony Mackie. I've always enjoyed him as an actor. Most people know him as Falcon in the Marvel movies, but he's done so many different roles. He's a very versatile actor and very charismatic. And in this film, I really feel Anthony Mackie playing Captain Leo, he carries this entire film, because even though he plays somebody who's not quite human, he's the most human character in this. And a lot of that is basically because of the acting that Anthony Mackie provides. And at the same time, his ability to be very physical and action oriented, it's definitely all here. And so that's the first and best thing about this particular movie. And then the second thing is, of course, the action. Now, the action in this movie, when it goes, there is just a lot of really cool looking action set pieces. And within this whole sci-fi world, we have other machines. They're called Gumps. And so there are these robot soldiers. And the way the action is used against these robot soldiers is just really interesting and very, I would say, different in a lot of ways, in terms of how he actually attacks and fights them. I really like that. So there were a lot of moments when I was watching this, and whenever the action scenes came about, it really got my attention, which is pretty much the whole point of having a good action movie. So I would say overall, the action, whenever the action is there, it's pretty good, and it's something that keeps you interested in the movie. And then the final thing that I would say I did enjoy about this movie is the overall world that it has. It's kind of built something that could go into many other areas. Okay, so there's a lot more to this world than just what's shown here. And that part also added some interest to it. This whole world of artificial intelligence, these soldiers that aren't human, and most importantly, Anthony Mackie's soldier character. So those are things that really made this a little bit more different versus other standalone action movies that you've probably seen before. For fast website hosting and top-notch service and features, check out Siteground, the preferred service news at GeekOutdoors.com. For more information, check out the affiliate link in the description area below. Now, getting into things that I did not enjoy about this movie, even though I really did enjoy the overall world building, the story just didn't support that. And that's the most disappointing thing in this, because Anthony Mackie's character with Captain Leo and this whole world of these Gumps and other machines and AI, there's so much story that I could tell that could have been told there, but unfortunately we don't get that. It's very surface level. You learn little to nothing about Captain Leo, or even the other character Harp, or even this entire world. You don't get much at all because of the fact that the way that things were set up and some of the hints that you get about these characters and worlds, it just seems like it's a wasted opportunity. At least that's how I felt. And then the second thing that I did not enjoy as much about this overall film is, besides Anthony Mackie playing Captain Leo, the rest of the characters in this film weren't interesting at all. And even though we have a Harp, who's supposed to be our main character, along with Captain Leo, he doesn't really do much. And I really say that's a lot to do with how the characters were written. I don't think it has anything to do with the overall acting, because there are a lot of different actors and actresses. I think they did well in this movie for what they were given, but the whole characters that they didn't have a lot of depth depth into them. They were like really like two-dimensional characters, and so they're like standard stereotype military characters that you would normally see in this type of action movie. And that's, you know, once again, it's kind of disappointing, you know. It's kind of like a wasted thing, you know, and especially with Captain Leo, you know, that character could have been a lot more detailed. You know, with Anthony Mackie's acting and stuff, there's a lot of nuances, and so I was really interested more into, you know, how did this character evolve, you know, how did this whole project to create these androids come about, you know, and how did this whole AI thing, you know, just come about as well, you know. So there's a lot of questions about these characters, and it feeds into this whole story and world building that I really think could have been a really big positive motivator to watch more of this movie, because of the fact that they didn't have those things. Besides the action parts, there's lots of moments that I was just kind of bored, you know, and that would probably be the final thing. I was just kind of bored at moments in this movie because it is an hour and 55-minute movie, and whenever a movie is that long and it's an action movie, typically you really rely a lot on the action, and even though the action is there, it's not there as often as I would like. And even then, even if you had a lot of action, you need some type of good characters and story to go along with that. And in this case, those two parts were the biggest weaknesses. And unfortunately, it makes it a movie that's just more average than above average, or a movie that you would want to see more of. Let's just say that. And so those are my thoughts on Outside the Wire. I wouldn't necessarily say it's the best sci-fi action movie, but at the same time, it just does what it needs to do. And like I said, Anthony Mackie and the action that it has on here, it's really, really good action overall. And so that is it for this review. If you actually had any thoughts on this, be sure to leave that in the comments area below. And if you did want to see more of my sci-fi action film reviews, I do have an entire playlist. I'll leave that in the description area as well. So as always, if you did get value out of these videos, be sure to share, like, and subscribe. If you're a creative geek like me, and you want to get exclusive access to more content that I don't put out here publicly on my YouTube channel, then join my Gold Content Creators Group, where you're going to get content like this and more for all the creative geeks out there. And the best part is, all of this is free. Simply head over to the link below, check out my page, and sign up for my Gold Content Creators Group.